It's 1 o'clock in Munich and in Nuremberg. Hi, Andy. Good to see you back.
Ramin.
Hi there. Well, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Ramin Ismaili. I am the head of marketing communication at Softing Industrial Automation. Today's webinar is about the effects on OPC classic communication in connection with the latest Microsoft DCOM security patch. So we figured it's a good occasion to inform about the implications of that and what we can do about it. And our expert on this topic is Andreas Röck, Head of Product Management in Softing Industrial Nuremberg. We are going to be recording this webinar and we'll make this available. So I just want to make sure everybody's informed of this, that this is a recording in progress. And we will also provide the presentation. You're more than welcome to raise your questions and comments in the chat, post them. We look forward to any form of feedback or questions, and Andreas will answer them once he's done with this presentation. We'll take enough time to tailor to any inquiry you might have. Last point from my side, once we close the webinar, I have a small favor to ask. We plan to have a series of webinars throughout the year, which as a topic have OPC UA as a topic, but also beyond that, data connectivity in our industrial automation environment. And one of the questions we'll ask, what kind of topics are of interest to you? And obviously, I would very much look forward to seeing the feedback I can receive, because then we would incorporate that into our future webinars. Enough from my side. I look forward to your feedback. I look forward to an interesting session now with Andy, and herewith I hand over to you, Andy.
Hello and welcome also from my side to today's webinar regarding the Microsoft DCOM patch effects on the OPC Classic communication in connection with this Microsoft DCOM security patch. So the agenda for today will be first some background information, then the effects, what we will have with this DCOM patch on the OPC Classic communication, then the affected Softing industrial products. Fourth point is options for migration with Softing industrial products, and the last point is a short live demo about the Softing solution. Last 2021 in June, Microsoft released a security update, KB5004442, to address some vulnerabilities in the DCOM remote protocol. Some details are described in the CVE. For you, which maybe don't know what is a CVE. CVE is our security bulletins which were announced by an organization, and in the CVs are listed normally some security topics. Microsoft was more or less infected by a security leak, and this was released with the CVE. And in June 2021, Microsoft released Windows updates for the following products, starting from the Windows 7 until the newest one, Windows 11, and also for their server versions 2008 up to 2022. But be have in mind, if you have maybe an older Windows system, it is also affected by this security leak. For example, Windows XP is also affected. But due to the fact that the other Windows systems are out of maintenance, Microsoft will not release any security updates for this older Windows versions. From this point of view, I will come to more technical details, maybe a little bit. OPC Classic communication. The OPC Classic communications of an OPC server and an OPC client are based on a Microsoft proprietary COM, which means Component Object Model technology. OPC Classic servers and OPC Classic clients are components. They are communicating via this Microsoft technology. Especially now, Windows automatically activates the distributed COM functionality when a COM-based application attempt to a communication with each other over a network interface. This was a topic which was affected by the security issue. Changes now on the Windows security settings that might be released via this system updates can affect the OPC Classic communication. The schedule from Microsoft regarding this security updates was in June 2021, they released the phase 1. They released a Microsoft security patch. At this patch, the new security mechanism was still deactivated and can be activated via a Windows registry key. In June 2022, the phase 2 has started. Microsoft released with the monthly Windows updates for the different Windows operating systems versions an update and patch, and in this patch the customer has more or less the problem. The security mechanisms are enabled by default. So maybe the one or the other from you has already detected some problems last year. But Microsoft offers to the customer still the possibility to disable this new security mechanism. Beginning with the last phase, this year on March, Microsoft released a new monthly Windows update for the different systems. And in this update, Microsoft activate by default the security mechanisms, the new ones, but they can no longer be deactivated by the customers. From this point of view, your solution must work with this new Microsoft DCOM security mechanism. Okay, coming to a more detailed technical explanation. On this slide, we have on the left side a Siemens PLC. The data from the Siemens PLC, as an example, will be collected by an OPC Classic server, which runs on the same computer like the OPC Classic client application. In this case, both applications are communicating via this COM, Microsoft proprietary COM interface, which means the OPC Classic server and the client can still communicate because the COM interface is not affected by the Microsoft security updates, only the DCOM. That's why if you have if on your side runs the OPC Classic server and the Classic client application on the same PC, there's no need to do any changes. On this slide, I will show you now the next demo. We have still our Siemens PLC as an example, but now the scenario is a little bit different. Why? We have on the left side our OPC Classic server, which is running on one computer, and on the other computer, it's running our OPC Classic client application. And in this case, both are communicating via this DCOM interface, distributed COM interface. It's a network connection through this interface. And in this case, both sides, server and client, must now support the security mechanism because otherwise they are no longer able to communicate. So only, as a reminder, only communication between two separate computers via this Microsoft DCOM technology is affected by this Microsoft security update. Softing has also some affected products which are not ready for this Microsoft changes. For example, the Datafeed OPC Suite version 5.19 or older. The same is with the Softing S7 S5 OPC server, the Softing Modbus OPC server, Softing Profibus OPC server, and the multi-protocol OPC server, which is former called INAT multi-protocol OPC server. All these 5 products with a related version are not able to communicate after this Microsoft patch is installed. For this, we recommend using an OPC tunnel or an OPC Classic UA gateway instead of using the DCOM-based OPC Classic network communications. And in addition, we have in mind, Softing will not provide any technical support for problems with OPC Classic remote network connections via DCOM. Why? The DCOM interface on the Microsoft Windows operating system is very difficult to configure. That's why we have also in the past not offering any support for this DCOM communication. We always prefer in the past the same like what we recommend now, using an OPC tunnel solution or an OPC Classic or OPC gateway instead of this Microsoft DCOM technology. So these are a little bit background information. Now possible solutions. If now your OPC application no longer works after installing this Microsoft patch, first, please verify if the authentication level is correctly set on the Windows Component Services and in your OPC Classic application. On the right side, you see this Windows settings window. On this, you can see here on the authentication level, you must have minimum packet integrity or packet privacy. Otherwise, no communication is possible via DCOM. The same, you have also the possibility in, for example, our data feed OPC suite to set here also the DCOM authentication levels. Must be also minimum to PK integrity. If this is not solving your problem, even with the correct authentication settings, at least one side, the server or the client, in your case, does not support this newly introduced authentication level, which is now a must from the Microsoft. So after installing this patch, the last patch, you will no longer be able to have a DCOM connection with the lower level authentication level than packet integrity. So default none or connect will no longer work. In this case, you must find the other solution. So from Softing side, we have two solutions which maybe solves your problem. We have our data feed OPC suite, which is an all-in-one, I will say, OPC solution. We have different kind of data sources, a lot of data sources. For example, PLC protocol to connect directly on Siemens and Rockwell or on Mitsubishi PLC. In addition, we have also the possibility to connect OPC Classic servers, OPC tunnel servers, UA servers, MQTT publisher, MQTT broker, SQL database, or data file. These are the data sources which are provided by the data feed suite. And in addition, we have the destinations. Also here, OPC Classic, OPC tunnel, OPC UA, MQTT for cloud connectivity, for example, MindSphere, REST API for to connect to REST servers, databases, ODBC driver for SQL databases, and also file access. And in the middle, we have also a big part of pre-processing functionality, for example, to manipulate the data. We have maybe an exchange also between different data sources, store and forward solution for various of our protocols, and also some local items. So we prefer to use maybe in this case, if you have DCOM problems, the data feed suite. And especially two parts of the data feed suite can cover your problems. First, the OPC tunnel solution. Because thanks to this OPC tunnel, you will have no longer some DCOM headaches. What does it mean? We can have access with one data feed suite installed on one PC to a various number up to 100 OPC servers through the OPC Classic interface. And when we receive the data via this proprietary Microsoft COM interface, we are encapsulating this information into a TCP packet and sending this via our own proprietary OPC tunnel protocol to the remote side. In this case, we have also a data feed suite, which now decapsulate the information and provides this information through an OPC Classic interface to your OPC Classic client application. This is one of our solutions. If you have trouble with DCOM, use the OPC tunnel solution from Softing. One main benefit is we have also included a store and forward functionality. If your connection between your two PCs is interrupted, we will store the data, and after the connection is re-established, we will retransmit the data to the client. So this is one possible solution. And in this case, you have no longer DCOM configuration necessary. So it helps you also from the, I will say, time what you need for set up this solution. This would be one possible solution from Softing side. In addition, we can also provide you a second solution. Here, in this case, we prefer to use maybe, if the customer wants, instead of the tunnel, an OPC Classic / OPC gateway. So it means we want to connect the OPC Classic application through an OPC, I call it similar tunnel, to an also OPC Classic client application. We receive on the left side from the OPC Classic servers the information through OPC Classic, provides this information through an OPC connection to the second OPC suite installation, and this second installation provides then the information to the OPC Classic client application through a standard OPC Classic interface. So in this case, what is the benefit from this, I will say, UA solution? One benefit is you can use between these two OPC suite instances the complete security mechanism which are defined by the OPC standard, like exchange of certificates, high security encryption, and so on. And last but not least, what we have also implemented for UA is the reverse connect functionality. Normally, by default, an OPC Classic communication is always initiated by the client. And in this scenario, the right side is the OPC UA client and normally connects to the left side, which is the OPC UA server. And in this case, we have here the firewall between IT and OT. And in some cases, the administrators don't like some connections outside from the OT level to inside the OT area. And with this reverse connect, we change the connection establishment. In this case, the server, which is located in the OT area, will start the connection to the client. And this helps also with the gateways and firewalls because the administrators like it more to have an outgoing connection from the OT level. So this is also a possible solution from our side. In this case, we have these two solutions for the customers. Now, to show you now a little bit on a live demo how easy it is to set up such kind of OPC tunnel solution, for example. First of all, I will start with the server side. Just 1 second. We have here our server side. On our server side, you see our data feed OPC suite with a different kind of data sources. For our example, I will use an OPC Classic server, our OPC demo server, which is my data source. I add a connection. All the configuration part of the suite are wizard-based. So step by step, you will guide it by the configuration. On the first, I will specify my name of the connection. For me, it's a demo server. I can select the type of server which I want to transfer, which I want to connect. OPC TA server, OPC alarm and event server, or an OPC XML TA server. On the next side, I can select my OPC Classic server. Due to the fact that it's locally running on my PC, I can scan my PC and it shows me my demo server. I select it and press next. If necessary, I can also configure here an authentication for this Classic server, also the store and forward functionality, and last but not least, I'm able also to be configuring a filter to hide some data points of the server, but for our demo, I will use a non-filtered connection. And then I press finish. This was the first part, the connectivity to our OPC Classic server. Then I want to provide this information to a data destination, in our case, tunnel client. And here it's quite simple. Only what you have to do is here activate via this checkbox the tunnel server. That's all what you have to do on the server side. In this case now we are ready on the server side. I will save now my configuration and start it. Then it needs some seconds until my server is now started. Now it's running. Now I'll go to my second instance, which is now a data feed OPC suite, the client. On the client, we have the same I will say data sources. In this case, we want to connect to a tunnel server. Oh yeah, I have my old connection. I will remove it immediately. Sorry. Now I will add a new connection. It's the same wizard-based, step by step. This is my demo tunnel. I can select if I have an TA tunnel server or an alarm and events. For our case, we are connecting to a TA tunnel server. On the next page, I can also be able to search, to browse for this tunnel server, but due to the fact that both of our sites are not directly connected, they are through a firewall, so it is not possible to use the tunnel discovery protocol. In this case, I must configure it manually. So I have to enter the IP address. Hope it's the correct one. Just 1 second. No mistake. And I now need support. Sorry, I must switch back to my server because I have forgot support. This one is now the important topic. I need support. Okay, I enter here now support. Next, here I can now test my connection. Connection is successfully, so I be able to connect. The next topic, I can also set up the store and forward and also filter if I want, but for our demo, I don't want to set up any filter or store and forward functionality. Next topic is finished. Now I have configured my connection from the client side to my OPC tunnel server. All what we need now is to verify if our data destination OPC classic client is activated. Then that's all what we have to configure. I save now my client side and I start now my application. Just 1 second. Now it's running. Now I use my demo client from the data feed suite. We also provide a OPC classic demo client. Here I have now my local OPC servers. I have here my data feed webinar client. I connect to it. Then I'm able to browse. We see here our tunnel server. We see here the information from the underlying demo server. And now I'm able to see all the data points. And I can subscribe now to some data points if I want. And then I see all my data, which are now receiving from the underlying OPC Classic server through the OPC tunnel on my Classic demo client now. So it was quite simple. And I know I'm a little bit familiar with it, but for you, if you want to configure the same, normally maximum 10 minutes and everything is working instead of some hours when you want to use DCOM, or maybe DCOM will no longer work due to the effect of this Microsoft DCOM issue. So that's my live demo now. I will switch back now to my presentation. So we have finished the live demo. And now some conclusion. So first of all, if you need some information about OPC Classic communication in connection with the Microsoft DCOM security patch, you can find something here on this link. It's directly the information on which you find some additional information about this DCOM security patch. So, and be have in mind, thanks to this OPC tunnel or UA gateway functionality, you will no longer have DCOM headaches. Additional information regarding the data feed suite and a free trial version can be found also on this link. Just for your information, our data feed OPC suite runs 72 hours in demo mode, and after the 72 hours in demo mode, you have only to restart the application. And later on, when you see, okay, my solution works, you can buy the needed licenses. The needed licenses you find also in the suite. Maybe I can show it you shortly. On the settings page, licenses, you see for this configuration, which I have used now, which license is required. So it's quite easy also for you. If you set up the complete configuration, take a look on the licenses and then you need know directly what you need. And here it's the part number, so you can directly order from Softing your licenses. So, and if you have some additional questions, feel free to contact us on info@automation@softing.com or contact our sales responsible persons and so on. So feel free to contact us. Now I'm at the end of my presentation. I want to thank you for your interest, and now I'm open for any kind of questions. Feel free to ask now some questions in the chat. We still are more or less over time, but we still have some minutes to answer some questions from your side. So please feel to ask now some questions. Right now, I receive no questions. Everything clear from your side? So it seems no one has some questions. So then I will say again, thank you for your interest and see you maybe on one of our next webinars. Have a nice day. Bye, guys.
Same here. Goodbye, guys. Talk soon.